What if everything we threw away, industrial waste especially, could actually become something new, something really valuable?
Yeah, imagine that.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into a company that's, well, basically making that happen, really transforming the footwear industry from the ground up.
That's right. We're going to unpack the truly unique strategy of ProWell Limited. They've got deep roots in Taiwan.
Okay.
And our mission really is to understand how they've pulled together like decades of industry experience
Right.
with this fierce commitment to sustainable materials, plus some pretty impressive certifications and just a very clear vision for where footwear components are heading.
And to guide us, we've got a whole stack of sources ready. We're talking official company websites, detailed reports from
Yeah,
Satra,
these are key.
corporate presentations, even the product catalogs. We're aiming to pull out the really important nuggets so you can see just how, well, groundbreaking their whole approach is.
Sounds good.
So let's get into ProWell's story. Now, when you first hear about them, 2020 sounds pretty new, right? Like a startup?
Yeah, you might think that.
But the sources, they tell a different story, a much deeper history that really explains their innovation today. It's definitely not an overnight success story.
Not at all. And that's what's so fascinating here. ProWell isn't your typical startup. It's built on like this unbroken line of knowledge and partnerships. It goes back decades in footwear.
Okay.
So yes, ProWell Limited, established 2022, but, and this is key, it directly carries forward the legacy of Norya International. They were founded in Taiwan way back in 2000.
2000. Okay, so Norya, right from the start, they were building big relationships, landed an exclusive deal with Renoflex.
The German manufacturer.
Yeah.
Big name in things like toe puffs and counters.
Those are the bits that give shoe shape, right? Heel and toe.
Exactly. Crucial components. And Norya got the exclusive agency for them in Asia back in 2000.
Yeah.
And that partnership brought these innovative waste-free products to market, like something called the power printing counter.
Waste-free. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, and the big athletic brands, always looking for efficiency and quality, they jumped on it, which meant Norya and later Renoflex expanded production fast. China, Vietnam, Indonesia,
Is it?
key manufacturing spots.
Right. Makes sense. So the journey continued. Renoflex actually bought Norya in 2016.
Correct. Integrated the whole team, the operations, total integration.
Okay.
Then things changed again in 2022. Coats, huge global name in industrial thread, they bought Renoflex.
Okay. So Coates now owns Renoflex.
But here's the twist.
Right.
Right after that deal, the, quote, original Norya team,
The same people from 2000.
the very same experienced minds, they went and established ProWell.
Yeah.
So it ensured that mission, that deep expertise, it just kept going. It's like passing a torch, keeping that specific knowledge alive.
That is incredible continuity. So ProWell isn't just saying they have experience. They genuinely have over 30 years of deep hands-on industry knowledge. That makes them real experts in shoe components, reinforcements. So how does that help a brand? Like, if I'm making shoes, what's the advantage of working with them?
Oh, it's a massive advantage. They're not just selling you parts. They're basically expert consultants.
Right.
That deep knowledge means they give really detailed technical advice. They help brands develop tricky new season samples, complex shoe designs. They spot problems before they even happen.
Because they've seen it all before.
Pretty much. And their leadership team, you've got Eric Pan, President and Chief Executive, Ruth Hong as CEO, Chris Pan, COO, Sandy Ho, Sales Manager. These are the people driving it. It's that collective memory, that institutional know-how. That's invaluable.
And it's not just inside knowledge, right? They have strategic alliances. You mentioned Satra earlier. That seems important.
Very important.
For listeners, Satra is like a global authority on testing and standards for footwear. What's the big deal about that partnership for ProWell?
It's crucial. Eric Pan himself really stressed this. Satra isn't just about like basic pass-fail test. It's about getting critical market knowledge, understanding new innovations. For brands using Satra, it helps them manage suppliers, make sure products meet tough global standards.
And for ProWell?
For ProWell, it means they're always plugged in. Latest trends, new regulations, material science breakthroughs. It lets them develop solutions before the market even fully demands them. They're using that external, impartial expertise to stay ahead.
Always learning. Okay, let's shift gears a bit, because this is where ProWell really seems to carve out its niche: sustainability. For them, it's not just, a buzzword or some side project to look good. The sources hammer this home. It's a core strategic pillar for the whole industry. It's foundational.
That's absolutely right. It's a critical insight. If you connect the dots, ProWell sees using recycled materials as, well, yes, it's good for the environment, obviously.
Right.
But it's also a straight-up strategic economic advantage, something that can fundamentally change the numbers, the traditional business metrics. Well, their guiding principle is clear, they say. Sustainability is the key, and circular economy is the only way. Even their mission statement, protect Earth well. Simple, but powerful.
Protect Earth well. I like that. And they live that through their materials, right? Sustainable toe puffs, counters, using high-contained post-consumer and post-industry recycled material. What does high-contained mean exactly? Like a lot of recycled stuff.
Yeah, it's significant, a really substantial percentage. Eric Pan's strategic letter, it lays out the economic case beautifully. He basically says, look, relying on virgin raw materials, it's getting more expensive, harder to get, and yeah, bad for the planet.
Makes sense. Costs are rising.
Exactly. But then he flips it, using recycled raw materials.
Yeah.
That cuts your procurement costs, immediate savings. He actually says it gives you a chance to thoroughly change your production business economic indicators.
Wow. So waste isn't a cost, it's a resource.
Precisely. A resource that undercuts virgin material prices and hits the bottom line directly. It's a total rethink.
That's ambitious, but potentially huge for brands. And they have actual products that show this, like ProPrint.
Yes, ProPrint. Great example.
An innovative material for toe puffs and counters, described as waste-free. What does that mean in practice for a shoe factory?
Okay, waste-free here is revolutionary for the factory floor.
Yeah.
It means ProPrint doesn't need cutting or skeeving.
Skeeving. That's like thinning the edges.
Exactly, which usually creates tons of little offcuts, waste. By eliminating those steps, factory save labor, time, materials, it adds up.
Okay, less waste, less cost. And the material itself, what's it made from?
Get this. It contains over 50% recycled high-tech PC. That's polycarbonate.
Right.
Sourced from things like old CDs, DVDs, even those plastic covers on car headlights.
No way. CDs and headlights.
Yeah, stuff that would otherwise just sit in landfill. And using ProPrint can apparently offer up to 25% cost savings compared to the usual sheet materials.
25%. That's massive. That gets attention.
You bet it does. It's a huge incentive. Sustainability and savings.
And it sounds like they're doing more than just supplying the material. They use automation, too, to make it easier for clients.
Exactly right. They use automation tech to provide pre-cut, ready-to-use components.
Like pre-cut pieces.
Yeah, think of it like getting flat-pack furniture that's already got the tricky cuts done for you versus just getting planks of wood.
Ah, okay. Makes it simpler.
Much simpler. Fewer manufacturing steps for the shoe factory. Less waste generated there. Less inventory needed. But here's the kicker.
Okay.
All the cutting and skeeving waste from their own processes. They collect it, recycle it rigorously, and put it right back into their products.
Wow, so it's a closed loop inside their own wall.
Really tight closed loop. And it doesn't stop there.
Oh.
Our sources say they actually extend this. They offer to take back and recycle customers' waste materials too, even if it wasn't their material originally.
Seriously, they'll recycle other companies' scraps.
That's the commitment to a circular economy they're talking about. It's huge.
That really is going the extra mile. And their factory locations, that's part of the sustainable strategy too, isn't it? Not just about production.
Absolutely. They're set up in the big footwear hubs.
Yeah.
China, Vietnam, Indonesia. Being local means fast door-to-door delivery, local tech support.
More efficient service.
Yes, but the green angle is key. It dramatically cuts CO2 emissions from transport. Think about shipping components halfway around the world versus just across the region or even across town.
Right. The carbon footprint difference must be substantial.
They even gave specific examples in their materials, showing the CO2e savings on certain routes. It makes a tangible difference.
Clever. Better service. Lower footprint. Win-win. And material-wise, it's not just polycarbonate, right? They use other recycled plastic.
Oh, yeah, it's a broad approach. They use a whole range of recycled stuff. PP, that's polypropylene, PET, you see that in bottles. PETG, PC, which we mentioned, ABS.
Kind of the workhorse plastics.
Exactly. The stuff modern manufacturing runs on. ProWell is basically proving it doesn't have to be single use. It shows a deep commitment to that cradle-to-cradle idea.
Cradle to cradle. Designing things so they can just be endlessly cycled back into new products.
That's the core idea. Eliminate the very concept of waste. Design it out from the start.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you, the listener? I mean, it's one thing to talk about sustainability, to have these grand visions.
Right, talk is cheap.
But ProWell seems to be really walking the walk, and they have proof. Formal certifications, actual real-world results. They're backing it up with data.
And that raises the key question.
Yeah.
How do you actually measure the impact? How do you verify these claims?
Yeah.
Their certifications are one big answer. They give that transparency. Well, for instance, they got their organizational greenhouse gas verification, that's ISO 1400641, back in 2023.
Okay, ISO 140646. What does that actually mean?
Think of it like a really thorough, independent audit of their entire company's carbon footprint, done by SGS, an impartial third party. It means they're being open and accountable about their emissions.
Gotcha. That's a big deal for transparency.
And they're not stopping there. They're working on getting the product carbon footprint verified too. ISO 140067, expecting that this year, 2024.
Okay, so company and product level verification.
Plus, for the materials themselves, they hold the GRS Global Recycled Standard. That confirms they're using verified recycled content, and you can trace it through the supply chain.
GRS, okay. So you know the recycled content claim is real.
Exactly. And they even mention internal work on things like ISO 14068-1 for net zero planning. It shows a deep, systematic commitment inside the company, too.
Right. It's not just for show. Now, central to all this seems to be their zero waste recycling program.
Yes, that really ties it all together. It's this comprehensive closed-loop system, specifically for footwear factory offcuts and scrap.
How does it work? They just collect scraps and melt them down.
Huh. It's only that simple. No, it's quite sophisticated. It involves meticulous sorting. You have to separate different plastic types properly.
Okay.
Then shredding it down, turning it into pellets, and then crucially rigorous quality checks. They have to ensure the recycled material meets the exact specs needed for production. It's technically demanding.
And they manage to reintegrate that material.
Yes, successfully. Somewhere between 5 and 20% of qualified recycled material goes back into new products.
5 to 20%. That's a serious amount of waste being diverted from landfill and turned back into useful stuff.
Absolutely. And the case studies really bring it to life, how they turn trash into treasure, basically.
Like the partnership with EasyCo, the shoe brand.
Yeah, that's a brilliant example of circularity in action. ProWell takes discarded PU polyurethane outsole rejects from EasyCo's production lines.
The actual soles of the shoes?
The actual soles,
Yeah.
waste material. ProWell processes them and uses them as filler material in their counter components, the heel reinforcements.
So EasyCo reduces its waste, and ProWell needs less virgin material.
Exactly. It's a direct solution to a major waste stream in shoemaking. Really tangible impact.
And then there's that Jack Wolfskin collaboration. That sounded really different. Biorecycling.
It really is innovative. This is where ProWell tackles an environmental issue almost as a side effect. They collect invasive water hyacinth plants.
Those plants that clog up rivers and lakes?
The very ones. They're a real ecological problem in some areas. ProWell harvests them and converts them into bio-based materials
To use in shoes.
to use in their co-puffs and counters.
Yeah.
So you're solving an environmental problem, getting rid of an invasive species, and creating a sustainable raw material for footwear at the same time. It's incredibly smart.
That's amazing, turning a pest into a product.
Pretty much.
And it's great to see how these specific programs connect to bigger global goals, like the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs.
Right. Their Zero Waste program directly supports several of them. Reducing waste generation, that's SDG 12.5. Responsible chemical and waste management, 12.4. Industrial sustainability through innovation, 9.4. Lowering carbon emissions, 13.2. And building partnerships for sustainability, 17.16. It shows alignment with the global agenda.
It adds that layer of credibility. And they tackle the energy question too, right? Because recycling isn't energy-free.
No, it does consume energy. But ProWell is clear. Their overall carbon emissions are still significantly lower than if they were using 100% virgin materials.
So it's a net positive for decarbonization?
Definitely. It contributes to decarbonizing the whole supply chain. And, as a cool little proof point, their sustainable materials were even used in the Chinese Taipei Olympic uniforms for 2024.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the ones Forbes praised for being eco-friendly. So it's reaching that kind of high-profile application, too.
That's fantastic validation. So looking ahead, what stands out to you about ProWell's path forward? For me, it's that they're clearly not stopping here. They seem driven to keep innovating.
I agree. It raises that question of who's going to lead on sustainability in the future. ProWell's trajectory, it really points to this deep, sustained commitment, integrating low-carbon thinking everywhere, expanding these closed-loop systems.
Yeah.
Their mission explicitly mentions continuously developing new products from industrial waste, from shoe factory scraps, and they're actively looking at new stuff too. Bio-based materials like the water hyacinth, and exploring ocean recycled plastics.
So real R&D focus.
A proactive, forward-looking R&D strategy, absolutely.
And it's not just ideas in a lab, right? They're building stuff, expanding physically.
Exactly. That shows real investment. New cutting centers, new recycling facilities, scheduled to open in Vietnam by the end of this year, 2024, and then Indonesia in early 2025.
So building the actual infrastructure to handle more volume, more recycling.
Tangible investment in making this sustainable model bigger and better.
And they're still pushing the automation side, making those ready-to-use components even more efficient.
Yes, continuing to enhance that. The goal is always to streamline production for their clients more, minimize waste further, reduce inventory needs. It's about making sustainability the easy, smart, economic choice for brands.
Right. Not just the right choice, but the efficient one, too.
And they're clearly aiming for broader net zero goals, integrating low-carbon principles everywhere, from design to manufacturing. But importantly, it's not just about their footprint.
Okay.
They're actively helping their partners, the shoe factories, the brands, with their carbon reduction efforts too, working towards net zero across the whole supply chain.
And so it's collaborative. They see it as an ecosystem thing.
Very much so. Their language is all about collaboration. They actively invite forward-thinking brands and manufacturers to partner with them, to co-create, as they put it, a truly zero-waste supply chain.
To create a zero-waste supply chain, that's a powerful vision.
It emphasizes that this has to be a joint effort. No single company can transform an entire industry alone. It requires partnership.
What an incredible deep dive into ProWell Limited, a company that really seems to be living its mission, turning waste, quite literally, into opportunity.
Indeed, it just highlights how thinking strategically about resources, rethinking waste, can create major environmental wins and really compelling economic advantages.
Especially for businesses brave enough to innovate like this.
Yeah, we've really seen how their deep experience, that unwavering commitment to recycled and eco-materials, the solid certifications backing it up, and just that constant forward-looking innovation, it's setting a genuinely new standard for footwear components.
Definitely a company to watch.
So here's something to think about. How many things that you use every day? Your shoes? Yeah. But also electronics, packaging, clothes. How could their environmental impact change if more industries really adopted this waste as resource idea, this cradle-to-cradle thinking? Viewing it not just as, a box to tick for compliance, but as a core business strategy. What other industries do you think could benefit most from embracing this kind of transformative approach? Something to mull over.